Hey everybody, good to see you this morning. I have something I want to talk to you about that God's really been dealing with me. I read a quote the other day. I've been reading a book of kind of mini biographies of the Christians in the late 1600s, 1700s. It's so interesting what they've been through. And I told y'all last week about George Fox. He was one of the beginning ones with the Quakers. But I read a quote from Madame Gouillet, and I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. But this was so good to me. She had such an encounter with God, and she had written this to a fellow Christian who was also trying to figure out what to do. They all, it seems like all of them, the one thing they all have in common was they all knew there was something more. There was something more that they wanted. It wasn't just an outward show of their Christianity. They wanted something inward that they could really hang on to and that they could really get behind and, share with people. And they knew it wasn't what was going on in the English or in the Anglican church at the time. But she said this quote, and it says, "A will surrendered is not always a will abandoned." That really got me to thinking, and this man said, "Many who have surrendered their wills to God are still anxious to carry out their own plans and ambitions and are greatly vexed when their plans are thwarted." That really got me to thinking, what is the difference between surrender and abandon? And I kind of got a taste of that. As y'all know, a couple of weeks ago, we went out to Texas to visit our grandchildren out there, and we had a wonderful time with them. I absolutely love it. I love spending any time with my grandchildren. But we had such a great time. But I found myself, I kept saying, "Oh, I wish Rachel was here. I wish Rachel could have seen this. I wish Rachel could have imparted this to her children, or this quality about Rachel, that quality. They're going to miss that in their lives." And I found myself really longing for that and missing that, and just being a little bit sad, to be honest with you, thinking about the things that they were going to miss from Rachel, what they would have gotten from Rachel. And the Lord finally said, "Kim, that is no longer a viable thing for you to even be worrying about or even be thinking about." Here I was still trying to put my will for her children onto them. And here Rachel is, she is completely fulfilled her purpose and is living her purpose to be with the Father, to worship Him all the days of eternity. Here she is completely fulfilling her purpose. And I'm still trying to put on her the purposes I want for her, my will for her life, my will for her children's life. And so I kind of got that idea, a little bit of taste of that, the difference between abandoning my will for Rachel's children's life to God's will. That little bit of surrender, I had kind of surrendered that because I really didn't have much choice. I mean, let's face it, I didn't have much choice in the matter. But to get over to that abandoning my will to His will, I looked up the two words. Abandon means to give up completely, voluntarily, completely give up a course of action, a practice, or a way of thinking. And surrender means to cease to resist, submit to authority, and act of your will to concede. So the difference there is surrender is something that, again, I had no choice. I had to surrender to that. That was, God and God's wisdom, His mercy, His grace, His goodness, all the things. He took Rachel on to heaven, and I surrendered to that. But abandoning my will for her children's life, and even my own life, still, I was wanting to do that here on earth when she's already fulfilled her purpose. I realized the difference in the surrendering and the abandonment. There was Oswald Chambers made this comment, or this quote: "The great aim of the Holy Spirit is to get us to abandon to God." That is the Holy Spirit's aim in us, is to abandon our will. Don't just submit to God's will in your life. It's something that you can't do anything about. abandon everything that you want. Even Jesus, on the way to the cross, had to abandon his will. He said, Lord, if this cup, Father, if this cup could pass from me, let it pass. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. Abandonment to God is when we, in the very marrow of our bones, in the deepest part of us, trust the goodness and providence of God and abandon our will completely to his. That is what my struggle is. I think that's probably a struggle for all of us, to completely abandon our will to the Father's will and to do what he wants us to do. Not just surrender because we don't have any choice, but to abandon it willingly, freely, give up voluntarily everything I want to what he wants. Folks, that's what I'm working on this week. I love y'all, and I will talk to y'all next week.